Here's some more animal news about United Airlines. Things are not going well. Let's take a look. Animals keep dying on United Airline flights. United Airlines, under siege over the death of a puppy on one of its flights, says the flight attendant who ordered a passenger to put her pet carrier in the overhead bin didn't know there was a dog inside. The airline's account was contradicted by the family that owned the French bulldog, and also by other passengers on Monday night's flight. 11-year-old Sophia Caballos told NBC News that her mother told the flight attendant, "It's a dog, it's a dog." And the flight attendant said, "We have to put it up there in the bin." Other passengers backed up the family's account on Twitter and Facebook. United said Wednesday, acknowledging that the customer said there was a dog in the carrier. However, our flight attendant did not hear or understand her and did not knowingly place the dog in the overhead bin, the airline said in a statement. United declined to identify the employee. Last year, 18 animals, mostly dogs, died while being transported on United. 3/4 of all animal deaths on U.S. carriers, according to the Department of Transportation. Those figures represent animals that die in cargo holds. It is rare that an animal dies on a plane. Even on United, there was only one death for roughly every 4,500 animals transported last year. United, which promotes its pet shipping program called PetSafe, carries more animals than any other airline, but its animal death rate is also the highest in the industry. Alaska Airlines, which carries only 17% fewer animals, just had 2 deaths last year. The overwhelming majority of deaths, according to medical experts, were due to a pre-existing medical condition or the animal wasn't properly acclimated to its crate, said the United spokesman Charles Hobart. Hobart said the airlines investigates every injury or death to an animal in its care. Pets are loaded last and taken off the plane first after landing, he said. United's PetSafe has its skeptics. I think United tries to make a business out of pet transport with this program, but airline ramp workers are not veterinarians, said Brian Kelly, CEO of The Points Guy, a travel website that first highlighted this week's incident on a Houston to New York flight. Reports filed with the government indicate that in most cases of animal death or injury last year, United took no corrective action. Some animals were deemed to have died of natural causes, others from cardiac problems or gastric dilation, a condition associated with eating too much. One dog died of heat stroke, and another animal escaped while being handed back to its owner and was hit by a vehicle. United has suffered a string of incidents that generated bad publicity in the last year, including the violent removal of a passenger from a United Express plane to make room for a crew member, and the death of a giant rabbit. In Iowa, owners sued the airline, which they said cremated the animal to destroy evidence about the cause of death. The issues of pets on planes has gotten attention recently after United and Delta Airlines announced tightened restrictions on emotional support animals, including requiring a health form filled out by a veterinarian. If your pet must travel, experts have several recommendations. The cabin is safer than the cargo hold. Pets too large to fit in an underseat carrier must go cargo unless it's a service or emotional support animal. Good way to encourage people to do the wrong thing. Ask the airline or look up its rules about things such as carrier size, and don't force your pet into a carrier that is too small. Take nonstop flights to avoid layovers, which increase the chances your pet could be mishandled or left longer in the cargo hold. Avoid extremely hot or cold weather and busy periods such as holidays. Make sure your pet's tags and your contact information on its carrier or crate are up to date. Tape a bag with a day's worth of food to the top of the crate, just in case. If your pet flies in cargo, use your own crate instead of renting one from the airline to get them acclimated and minimize anxiety. And here's another article on it. Coquito, the dog, Catalina Robledo, the owner of Coquito, and her 2 children. Oh, what a cutie. A Queens girl whose dog died on a United flight said the heartless flight attendant who forced her mom to put their pet carrier into an overhead compartment later claimed she had no idea their pooch was in it. The flight attendant came and she was like, "You have to put him up there because it's going to block the path," Sophia Caballos, 11, told ABC News on behalf of her mother, Catalina Robledo, who isn't fluent in English. And we were like, "It's a dog, it's a dog." And she said, "It doesn't matter. You still have to put it up there," the distraught girl said about her beloved 10-month-old French bulldog Coquito. Robledo, Sophia, and her new baby brother were flying from Houston to LaGuardia on Monday, along with their pup, affectionately called Little Pig, who was in a TSA-approved pet carrier. The carrier was partially blocking an aisle before the 3-hour flight, so the flight attendant told Robledo to move it into the tight overhead confines. Robledo asked if she could carry Coquito in her lap, but the flight attendant refused, Sophia told ABC News. Fellow passenger Maggie Greminger told WNBC that it didn't feel right to place the carrier in the bin. "Another passenger and I looked at each other and said, 'Did they just put the dog up there?' And Greminger, who even Googled whether animals could fly safely in overhead compartments. Sophia said she heard Coquito let out a few whimpered barks during the flight. "We were really worried," she said. "He barked in the middle of the flight and there was a lot of turbulence, so we couldn't get to him." When Robledo opened the bin after landing, she noticed that Coquito wasn't moving and burst into tears. "She took him out and he was dead," the sobbing girl said. She's like, "He died. And he didn't wake up. She hit his chest so he could breathe, but he wouldn't move." Robledo told Spanish language Telemundo 47 that when the flight attendant realized her blunder, she denied knowing there was a dog inside the carrier. She left crying, saying that she did not know it was a dog, Robledo said. Sophia said the flight attendant was lying. In the end, she says she didn't know it was a dog, but she actually touched the bag and felt him there, she said. She said, "Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't know it was a dog. I thought it was just a normal bag." But we told her it was a dog. She was lying. The airline took responsibility for Coquito's death, calling it a tragic accident that should never have occurred, as pets should never be placed in the overhead bin. United spokesman Charles Hobart said it was investigating the incident and talking to the flight attendant, whom he declined to identify. The airline has refunded Robledo's tickets, as well as the $200 fee for bringing Coquito on board, and offered to pay for a necropsy, which is an animal autopsy. They ought to be paying for the cost of the dog, which is substantial for French bulldogs. The Chicago-based airline has been buffeted by a string of recent public relations nightmares, including a passenger being dragged kicking and screaming from an overbooked flight in Chicago. Last year, United had the highest number of animal deaths of any U.S. carrier, according to the Department of Transportation, with 18 animals killed and 13 injured. United was also sued last year by the owners of a giant rabbit that died on one of its flights. 6 animal deaths in total were reported from the other 16 airlines included in the DOT report, according to Reuters. The Association of Flight Attendants, CWA, which represents United workers, said in a statement, "This was clearly a terrible accident, as there is not a single flight attendant working for any airline who would knowingly direct a passenger to put their pet in an overhead bin. I wouldn't do it. I'd refuse. Sophia mourned the loss of Coquito, saying the pet was a member of our family. He was like a brother to me. She added that her family doesn't want other pet owners to experience a similar tragedy. If flight attendants tell you to put your pet in an overhead compartment, don't do it, she said. Simply put, if somebody tells you to do something that is wrong, that you know is wrong, don't do it. I'm sure right now they would much have preferred being thrown off the flight to their dog dying. You know, I don't care what an airline person says. If you know it's bad, it's not the right thing, don't do it. Refuse. This could have been avoided had they just refused. Simple as that. Till next video, bye.